Welcome back to Beat Nurse Burnout. I'm so glad you're here today. Okay, in episode 224, where I mentioned the 8 faith-based practices to beat burnout, I had said I was going to go deeper in some of those. And so today I'm going to do exactly that into self-compassion. Yes, this episode is dedicated to that one practice. I want to make a case to you today that self-compassion might be the most clinically significant, spiritually grounded, and wildly underutilized tool in your burnout recovery toolkit. So pull up a chair or keep driving or finish that walk, but stay with me because we're going to talk about today how you could genuinely change how you care for yourself and therefore how you show up in your unit, at work, and at home. Let's go. If you're done running on empty, surviving shift to shift, and feeling life fatigue, then you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Shan Wright, registered nurse, holistic life coach, and mom of 4 who found her way through burnout and anxiety to peace and purpose with faith-based practices and God's design for whole person wellness. Here, I help nurses like you recover from burnout, regulate your nervous system, reconnect with God, and discover your identity beyond the badge. Are you ready to start caring for you the way you care for everyone else? I am. Go reheat that coffee again, and let's beat burnout together. Okay, in episode 224, I said this: you are without question one of the most compassionate people in any room you walk into. You sit with patients in their worst moments. You hold space for grief and fear and pain that most people never witness. And you extend grace to the difficult family member, patience to the confused patient, and kindness to the colleague who is barely holding it together. And then you go home. And you speak to yourself in a way that you would never speak to any of them. Or that voice is in your head. And that hit a nerve. I've heard from you, and what I heard most was some version of this: I know I should be kinder to myself. I do love myself, but I still can't seem to actually do it. And that right there, that tension, that gap between knowing and doing is exactly what this episode is about. Okay, let's start by making a distinction that I think is going to be really clarifying for a lot of you. Self-love and self-compassion. They are related, but they are not the same thing. And mixing them up can actually be part of why we are staying stuck. So self-love is a state of being. It's your overall regard for yourself, your sense of worth, the foundational belief that you are enough, that you matter, that you have value. Self-love is the ground you stand on. But self-compassion, on the other hand, is a process. It is active. It's what you do, the nurturing responses that you offer yourself, the kind acts, the mindfulness, the comfort you extend to your own struggling soul. It's less about how you feel about yourself in general and more about how you are responding to yourself in those hard moments. And I do have the argument that if you are not showing yourself self-compassion, then do you really truly have the self-love that you think you do for yourself? I don't think so. And here's why all of this matters. I work with clients who genuinely love themselves. They say they do. They say they have healthy self-worth. They would tell you they believe in their value, and yet their actions do not reflect self-compassion. They are skipping meals. They are going to bed way too late, getting up way too early. They are saying yes when every cell in their body is screaming no. They are holding themselves to impossible high standards and punishing themselves internally when they fall short. So when I see that gap, I actually do 2 things. First, I genuinely question whether that love runs as deep as they think it does, because real love eventually shows up in action. But second, and maybe more importantly, I point to this: self-compassion takes effort. It takes intentionality. It requires a kind of moment-to-moment mindfulness, especially in those moments of stress. about what your whole holistic self actually needs. You can love yourself in principle, but are you actually loving yourself in practice? I want to take us to Matthew 22:39, because I think when we slow down and look at what Jesus actually said here, it's not just a nice sentiment. It's a direct instruction about how self-compassion is built into the design. He says, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Now, I've highlighted those two words in my own Bible, as yourself. And what I want you to notice is that this isn't just a comparison. It's a standard. It's a how-to. When you look at the original Greek, the word for love, the agape love, I don't speak Greek, but it's the same word that's used in the New Testament for God's love. It's a verb that is so significant. It's a verb. It's a choice. It's a love based on values and will, not just a feeling. It's a love that active seeks and values the good of someone else. And Strong's Concordance defines it this way: to welcome, to entertain, to be fond of, to love dearly. The word love in this verse, the concordance is defined as that way. So when Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, he's describing what that looks like in action. You welcome people, you make room for them, you care for their good. And the standard he sets for how to do that, yourself. He's assuming you already know what it means to love someone well, because you should know what it feels like to receive that kind of care. If we really want to understand what love looks like in practice, we can turn to 1 Corinthians 13. You know the passage. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not dishonor. It's not self-seeking. It rejoices in truth. It bears all things. It hopes all things. It endures all things. Now, I want you to sit with something uncomfortable. When was the last time you were patient with yourself? The last time you were kind to yourself? That non-self-seeking kind of love was felt and acted on for yourself. We were created to love others as we love ourselves. But if we don't actually love ourselves in that active, demonstrative, verb form way, if we're running on fumes and self-criticism and shame, what exactly are we pouring onto the people that we care for? Yes. Okay. Let's talk about the research, because I know many of you are going to want the clinical evidence, and I have it. So Kristin Neff is one of the leading researchers on self-compassion, and her book, Mindful Self-Compassion for Burnout, co-authored with Christopher Germer. So here's a snapshot of what the research shows about people who practice self-compassion consistently. These are the benefits, okay? They are more likely to be happy, to feel hopeful, satisfied with their lives. They have more stable self-worth. They are more satisfied with their bodies. They demonstrate stronger emotional intelligence, better emotional regulation. They show more resilience when facing hardship. They take more personal responsibility, not less. They show more motivation and determination to reach their goals. Let's pause on that last one right there, because I hear this fear from nurses where if I am too kind to myself, I'll get complacent. I'll actually lower my standards and not have high goals. And the research says the opposite. Self-compassion increases motivation, because when you're not constantly in fear of being wrong, you have the psychological safety to actually take risks. You learn from your mistakes and you keep growing. Okay, so they also found that self-compassionate people have healthier relationships, they exercise more, they sleep better, they eat better, they have stronger immune systems, and they are significantly less likely to experience shame, anxiety, depression, disordered eating, or suicidal thinking. Now, here's the part that is most directly related to you. Neff and Germer ran a pilot program specifically with healthcare providers at a children's hospital. They also conducted research on that 6-session self-compassion training, and they found amazing results. So self-compassion levels went up. Compassion for others went up. Participants reported feeling more fulfilled in their work as healthcare professionals. They became more mindful on the job. They reported less stress, less depression. And here's the one that matters most for burnout. They saw a significant reduction in all three core dimensions of burnout: less exhaustion, less fatigue, less feeling drained, less detachment and cynicism and negativity, and they regained feelings of competency and effectiveness. Those who went through the training loved it, and they didn't keep it to themselves. They shared it with their colleagues. It poured out of them onto all those around them. They modeled this new way to handle stress on the job. Some of them had profound realizations. They were no good to anyone else if they were exhausted and couldn't think straight. They stopped expecting superhuman performance from themselves, and they recognized that compassion, the very thing they gave so freely to patients, needed to be given to themselves too. Okay, so that is huge. So for those of you who are high achievers, who are struggling with perfection, I want you to hear this. The inner critic is loud. You know that voice, the one that catalogs your mistakes, the one that says you should have caught that faster, handled it better, been stronger, the one that compares you to an impossible standard and tells you that you're falling short over and over. Self-compassion is not about silencing that voice with toxic positivity. It's about replacing it over time with practice, with something far more powerful: a wise inner coach. A wise inner coach that doesn't deny hard things. She acknowledges them, but she responds in the way a good mentor would, with honesty and warmth in the same breath. She helps you understand what you need. She leads you towards safety, towards care, towards knowing yourself. And here's the neurological piece that I think is so important. When we don't feel safe, when our inner environment is one of constant criticism and threat, our stress response activates. It's activated. Cortisol, adrenaline, fight or flight. And that response is just as real when the threat is your own inner voice as when it is coming from an external source. Yeah. So when we show ourselves compassion, when we offer our own nervous system warmth and care and nurture, our bodies receive that as a signal. It interrupts it as a safety. It disrupts that natural stress response and says, this is safe. And what gets released? Oxytocin, endorphins, the same neurochemicals of warmth and connection and belonging and safety. So you can literally change your nervous system chemistry through the way that you speak to yourself, through the way that you literally actively love yourself. And the quintessential question of self-compassion is simply this: what do I need right now? Not, am I doing enough? Not, why can't I handle this better? Not, what's wrong with me? Just, what do I need right now? And then answering that question with the same care you would give to your best friend. So what do we do with all of this? Well, in episode 224, I gave you 3 journaling prompts to get started, and I want to revisit those and build on them a little bit. The first one was, what am I feeling right now? And where do I feel it in my body? Now, this is a mindfulness practice, and it gets you out of your head and into your body, which is where self-compassion actually lives. The second, what do I need today that I have not given myself permission to receive? The word permission is doing a lot of work in that question, because so many of us don't lack the capacity to care for ourselves. We lack the permission. We're waiting for it to be okay. Let me tell you, it is okay. And the third, how would I speak to my closest friend if she was feeling exactly what I'm feeling right now? And can I speak that way to myself? The third one is the pivot. It's where the rubber meets the road, because you already know how to do this. You do it all the time for your patients, every single day, for your children, for your friends, for your family. The question is whether you believe you deserve it too. And let's be clear, you do. So I want to leave you with this. You came into nursing because you care about people. That instinct is beautiful and it's sacred, but self-compassion is not a threat to that instinct. It's actually the fuel that keeps it alive. I said this in another episode too, but I would pray often for more compassion. And what I was missing was self-compassion. You will have more compassion when you have self-compassion for yourself. And I didn't. I was straight in burnout and didn't know how to get out. So the oxygen mask principle, yeah, I've said it before and I'll keep saying it. It's not just a metaphor. It's a physiological truth. You cannot sustainably pour out what you're not receiving. And the most radical, most countercultural, most holy act of a burnout nurse, it's learning to love yourself in the verb form sense, the agape sense, the active, intentional, moment to moment, what do I need right now sense. And if you want support in building this practice in a way that's personalized to your life and your clinical environment, I want to invite you to book a complimentary stress assessment with me. In that call, we're going to look at what's driving your burnout, identify where self-compassion is being blocked for you specifically, and I'll give you concrete, actionable tools that you can use, not just at home, but in the middle of a 12-hour shift when everything is coming at you at once. Go to bit.ly/stress assessment call. The link is also in the show notes. It's free, and it might just be the most important appointment you've made for yourself in a long time. Thank you for letting me speak into your life today. Take care of yourself this week because you are worth taking care of. May the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace. Shalom, shalom.
I pray that blessed you, and it would bless me big if you would share the show with a friend or write a review. It will only take a few minutes, and it's the best way for people to find the show too. I would love to connect over on Instagram at @theshanwright, or you can email me hello@theshanwright.com. And until next time, may the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace. Shalom.